Hi everyone, these are the notes for waterfowl and other aquatic birds for Unit 7. We're going to talk about things like ducks and herons, even gulls. So they all have some pretty similar adaptations. The feet, for instance, are going to be adapted to aquatic habitats. We've got webbed feet in birds like ducks. Cranes and herons have really long legs. They might not have webbed feet, but they have really long toes that can help spread out their weight and help them stand up in muddy soils. They also have really well adapted beaks for things like surface skimming across the top of the water or probing down into the mud, even dip netting where they can scoop up a fish just like a pelican can. But a lot of these birds are going to migrate. Being an aquatic bird, they're very much depending on seasonal fluctuations of temperature and food. But in North Carolina, many birds will travel from region to region, but not super long distance migration. Real long distance migration takes place in only a couple hundred birds. Couldn't tell you the exact number, but an example would be this tundra swan here. They show up along with snow geese during our fall seasons, where it's going to be really cold up north, and so it's going to be a little bit warmer down here. So they'll come down here to eat, stock up, and then when it warms up, they'll go back up to the Arctic tundra, these really cold grassland areas up in Canada and Alaska, where it tends to be safer for them to breed, and they can find their mates there. But it's going to get really cold, so they come back down to places like here so that they can stock up on some food for the next journey. So what kind of species are waterfowl and aquatic other than like the tundra swan? We've got a lot of ducks, geese, and swans. Black duck, mallards, wood ducks, I'm sure you've seen before. Canada goose, of course, even the tundra swan. These guys are all going to have the webbed feet and the bills. The wood duck is a great example of our waterfowl here. They love the aquatic habitats, but the wood ducks actually prefer a little bit more of the terrestrial trees and forests. That's where they like to nest. And they've got these beautiful colors here. You can see again a good difference between male and female, which exists between many different birds, with males typically being more showy and colorful. We've also got our cranes and rails. The cranes tend to be really tall. Rails tend to be really hard to see, but they have these very long beaks and long legs that they tend to use to get through the wetland areas. And coots actually look like ducks, but they're more related to these guys. If you've ever been near a river, lake, wetland area, you might have seen a very large great blue heron. They are some of the biggest of their species in North America. And a similar large bird would be a snowy egret. They're not quite as large, but they're all white and have these really nice, long, flowy feathers. And they have these really long necks to help them reach into the water and take fish or frogs or whatever else. And their long, crane-like legs. Similar to this least bittern here, he's got the really long neck. And gulls, terns, these guys are going to be pretty much mostly around the coast. Of course, you can see gulls around here this far inland, but these are what we would call shorebirds. And a lot of these guys tend to migrate really long distances too. Sandpipers and woodcocks have these really long bills that they use to dig into the soil or sand to try to find things like crustaceans and snails. And there are plenty others. The list goes on and on. There's aningas, or the snake birds, because they look like snakes swimming through the water. Oyster catchers, who can get really, really old. Loons, which have this super creepy call that they let out. It's very scary at night. But that's about it for waterfowl today. Hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.